Shut up and sit down.
Hello and welcome to Geek Grills, a podcast about geeky things hosted by women. I am the Jen. Normally you would hear Ember right now, but unfortunately she's not able to join us on this episode. One, she's having some technical issues, but two, she's been a big part of the LGBTQ community and actually used to work at Disney World in Orlando. So with what happened recently, she still has a lot going on. Politics is something that she's been geeking out on for the last decade, and she's very involved in politics and with things going on in North Carolina, such as what she refers to as Hate Bill 2 or the Bathroom Bill. She has a lot going on too, and I know emotionally. So she won't be with us today, so I'll be taking over her role. And I am still here, though, with my co-host, Chris, also known as Lunescence.
Hello.
Hi. So I also want to make a giant disclaimer. We are going to be talking about the Warcraft movie in this episode. There may be spoilers, so if you don't want spoilers, wait to listen to this episode until after you've seen the Warcraft movie, because I'm going to talk about things that happened in the movie and not feel bad about it. So spoilers are in this episode. This is your warning. If you do not want to be spoiled, again, wait to listen to this episode.
That's right.
Yeah.
We'll try to, I don't know, should we try to be mindful of them?
No.
Okay, cool.
No, we're not going to, because that's going to be too complicated. We're just gonna enjoy talking about it, and that, you know what, honestly, so many people will have seen the movie too, hopefully, by the time this posts in a couple days. So, hopefully. But yeah, so if you don't want to be spoiled, by the way, this will have spoilers in it, most likely. At the same time, is it just me, or does it seem funny to talk about spoilers when it's like a lore story that has been around for more than a decade?
It is, yeah, that's a good observation, because it's kind of like, yeah, there's going to be this character, and we all know he's a warlock, and there's going to be this character, we know he's a mage, there's going to be these characters, we know they're warriors, and we know that, you know, we already know the plot.
Well, yeah, and it just seems like we know, yeah, I agree. Okay, so we're all on the same page there, that this is obviously story that we know about already. But that being said, I definitely have input on the movie. I did go see it, but I really want to highlight Chris's trip, because she actually got to see the movie. I know she mentioned it before, but she got to see the movie in a way that is really awesome. So I take it away. Tell us about your trip and how that all went for you.
Oh boy, where do I start? Basically what happened is there was a Frog Pants event in Salt Lake City, or just outside of Salt Lake City in South Jordan. As we've mentioned in previous episodes, it was basically a miniature nerdtacular. And if you don't know what nerdtacular is, it is a thing that Scott Johnson hosts every year, just a get-together of the Frog Pants community, usually in Snowbird. It's been in Snowbird the past couple of years, but they had to cancel Nerdtacular this year just due to projects and things that they're involved in, so that they could focus on those instead. And Scott ended up realizing that in 2010, what happened in South Jordan was basically exactly what happened at Nerdtacular in 2010, is they sat in the exact same theater that we were at, and watched The Dark Knight together. So it was basically the same thing. So it was really awesome. So where should I start? Should I just start with...
So I heard that you had a bit of struggle even getting out of town, though.
Not getting out of town. What I ended up doing, like I left at 5:50 in the morning here, and Google Maps told me it was going to take about 5 hours to get there. I'm like, okay, I should be good. should have plenty of time, might even get there early, just I don't know. And there was a ton of construction work, so that was not fun. But what ended up happening is I wrote the instructions down correctly, and I was supposed to get off on exit 292. What I ended up doing and thinking in my head was I needed to get off at exit 262. So I drove about an hour past 292 and was approaching 263, and I'm like, yes, next exit. And then the next exit comes and it says 261. So it completely skipped 262.
No.
And I'm like, okay, well, maybe, I don't know, this is Utah. Utah's weird, right? Utah's weird like Idaho. Maybe maybe the next one is going to be 262 for some odd reason, because there was construction going on, and it was 260. I'm like, not going any farther. So I got off on that exit, ran into the gas station, and asked, hey, can you help me with directions? And as soon as I pull out my piece of paper, I read it, and it said 292 on it. And I'm like, oh, never mind. I know what I did. Like, where are you trying to go? Well, looks like I needed to have gotten off at 292. And he's like, well, that's about an hour north. I'm like, well, it's 11:15 right now, and the movie starts at 12:30, so I could still probably make it.
Oh my
so
gosh.
I ended up speeding through at 80 miles per hour, even through the 65 mile per hour construction zones. And, nobody bothered me about, like, I am not missing this movie. So I headed back north, and I made it there in like 40 minutes. And I ended up walking into the theater, walked up to the ticket area. From the outside, the theater does not look very big, and I did a smart thing on Google Maps. I ended up looking at what the facility looked like, so that when I got there, I knew what it would actually look like. So I was walking down the virtual street and checking out some of the other businesses and stuff in there, because it's kind of one of those, it's called the district, the multiplex of the district. So it's one of those, you've got a bank over here, and you've got a JCPenney's over here, and a Target over here, and food places, and it's kind of like a miniature shopping mall area. So I'm really glad I did that, because I recognized the place right away, and I was like, oh, that business is right here, and on Google Maps I need to take a left right there, and so I found it.
I'm so glad that you had that plan. That would have been so awful. I know you've been looking forward to this for so long. You would have been so bummed if you missed it. So how many minutes was it before the movie that you made it?
Well, I ended up getting there right at about noon, so about a half an hour before it was scheduled to start. And I saw a Brian Ibbett, and I was like, oh my god, it's a Brian Ibbett. And he was standing next to Corinne, who is in charge of checking everybody in for the movie. And a couple walked up, and she's like, are you guys here for the Frog Pants? And they were looking for their ticket, and so I stepped out of the main ticket line, and I'm like, I'm also here for Frog Pants. And Ibbett had walked away by then. I was like, oh my god, do I say anything to him right now? But she scanned in my ticket, and I walked towards the ticket guy, and this really tall elderly gentleman, he's like, Frog Pants, eh? Yeah. He's like, right over there, theater 12. I'm like, okay, thanks. So I go in, and the theater was already was filling up, but it was only not even quite half full yet. But there were, so I just looked for one of the seats that was empty, and I started walking to it, and it was one of the best seats in the house, because it was like 4 rows up and right in the middle. And then there was this young girl to my right, and she had 2 empty seats right next to her on both sides. And I'm like, oh, are these seats taken? She's like, just these 2. I'm like, okay, awesome. Sat there and ended up. Did you watch the videos that I posted on Facebook?
I did.
Okay.
I did see them.
So I ended up being in a really good spot in order to record the beginning announcements. That girl I ended up sitting next to her mother, and her mother was completely new to Warcraft, and anything Warcraft. She doesn't play the game. She doesn't know. She didn't know anything. They were super nice though. So she was asking, and her husband obviously, her husband's obviously a part of the community, because she was asking questions, and he'd be like, yep, telling her stuff. And so the little girl, her name was Sydney, and what was really cool at the beginning, before the movie started, and the movie didn't actually end up starting until like 12:50, almost 1 o'clock. So we were waiting. We were basically waiting for like an hour before pretty much everybody had been already checked in that was probably going to make it. So Scott makes an announcement in front of everybody and thanks us for being a part of the community and for showing up. And he surprised us all with telling us that Blizzard, actual Blizzard Entertainment Inc., sent him a box of swag to give out to everybody randomly. And so the first thing that he gave out was to that young girl, Sydney, because her father had talked to him before the show and said that she really liked to draw. So he gave her an art book of all of the artwork Blizzard has ever done for all of their games.
That's awesome.
I know, it was so cool. And then the next, he had a necklace that was a doom hammer, and I didn't get to, nobody could see it like up close, but that sounded really cool. And he gave that to the only person who showed up in cosplay. There was this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, only one person did. But I'm glad she did because she had an amazing night elf costume. She had this staff that was super cool too, and the full prosthetic ears and everything. She did a great job.
I do think it's funny that the Doomhammer was given to a night elf cosplay. The horde side item. Oh god.
I know. Yeah, that is too funny though. I didn't even think about that. But she happened to be sitting like just one row back and to my left, so I'm just like turning my phone camera like, okay, I got this. And then a couple from Idaho, which I didn't know this until later, they were sitting directly in front of me, and they were the ones, I think they're the Townsends, I think is their last name, and they do leather work. And they made a whole bunch of like Overwatch coasters made out of leather. And
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, to give out to everybody. So I was just, okay, I'll film the backs of their heads, sorry.
The Frog Pants community is such an awesome community. I just have to say that. I love that these people come and they're just like, oh yeah, we're going to bring some of our stuff that we do, and just everybody sharing the things that they're passionate about. That's one of the things I've always loved about the Frog Pants community is there's no shame. It's all about sharing the experience and being excited about things that we love. And Scott Johnson's like, all right, so we're going to rent out a theater showing, and you guys can all come and watch Warcraft together in a group with people that are also excited to watch Warcraft. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott's wife was there. Brian's wife was also there. Scott's daughter, Carter, was also there. And they were the Kim and Carter ended up passing out just randomly, all the stuff. There were some other things, something with a Horde and Alliance on it. I can't remember exactly what they were, but they were in 2 big boxes. I don't know who got those. But yeah, they passed those out. And then he said that there was a poster also available that he had drawn himself. And he said that those would be available after the show. And then the previews came up and everybody was super excited. But before that, Brian stood up and said, hey, and if everybody checks under your seat and pauses, like the Oprah thing, and says, there's going to be gum. And somebody at the same time shouted out, a car. And everybody had a good laugh. And since Brian was like 3 or 4 rows down, and since he was standing up and I was fairly close, I'm like, okay, here's my opportunity to ask him a question that I just thought about because it was relative to the situation. I'm like, Brian. He just didn't hear me. Everybody like, Brian. I'm like, I have a question. To raise my hand. How do we make this the worst movie-going experience you've ever had? Because as we know from...
If you listen to the morning stream, you know that Brian Ibbett has the movie theater curse, and he's not allowed to have an enjoyable movie-going experience. Poor Brian Ibbett. That's fantastic. I think that's great.
And he was just like, Tina, my wife, she's sitting right here. Go ahead and throw popcorn at her. Kick her seat. I'm like, okay.
Yep. Bounce slam on the bar across the... in front of the seat. Oh gosh, those stories crack me up. Also, for our listeners that don't listen to the morning stream, listen to the morning stream.
No,
I mean, really,
yes.
It's so good. It's really one of my favorite podcasts. And Scott Johnson, Brian Ibbett, they are hilarious and enjoyable. So check that out. So you made it. You successfully made it. You got to see the Ibbett. You got to see the Johnson. That sounds weird. Let's not say it like that. Okay, so you got to see Brian Ibbett, Scott Johnson, Corinne, I know you saw Tom Merritt. I saw in one of the pictures. Again, if you don't know about Tom Merritt's podcast, you should. He is also awesome. Daily Tech News Show, etc.
Yes.
So you totally got to nerd out seeing all these people that you listen to podcasts that they do and enjoy the art that they do and the streams that they do. So this is like the ultimate hype movie experience for you. Not only are you super excited about Warcraft, but there's also this whole other layer of getting to see your little internet celebrities too.
Yep, this was definitely the best movie-going experience I've ever had in my entire life. I'm still freaking out about it because it's like meeting, personal heroes of yours, and it's like meeting, celebrities that might not be famous on a national scale, but they're definitely famous in, like in my own personal world. So I was nervous as all hell.
That's awesome. That's awesome, though. And I'm guessing they were nice, because I know from everything you said, they seem nice.
Oh my gosh, they are some of the best humans on Earth. I think maybe you stated that on a previous episode, but they really, really are.
Just good guys.
Yeah, after the movie, Scott ended up taking off out of the movie theater like really quickly. I'm like, well, I'm sure I'll maybe get to shake his hand, because all I was thinking, like, I came to the event with an open mind and wanting to play things by ear and be spontaneous. If something was to happen, I'd just go with the flow. But I was literally planning to go see the movie, meet some people, and then come home the same day, because it's only 5 hours away from where I'm at. But after the movie, I'm like, okay, this is good. This is my chance. Tom Merritt standing up, Brian Ibbott standing up. I'm going to go shake their hands. So I shake Tom's hand and thank him for everything that he does, because Tom is just amazing. He's the internet tech guy guru. He's just so amazing. And then somebody wanted to scooch in and also talk with Tom. So I let that happen and kind of just moved over to Brian and shook his hand, and I don't even remember the question that was asked, but we got into a conversation, and then and I waited around. The rest of the theater was theater goers were exiting, and I just waited around and talked a while because they were talking to me, super nice. And then as we were leaving the theater, I realized who the woman I was talking to. I'm like, oh my God, are you Tina? And so it was Brian's wife, and she is the sweetest lady in the world. She was awesome. And so was Kim. Such cool people.
That's awesome. Okay. All right. So you had a really amazing experience, and I am super jealous. But I did also get to see the Warcraft movie, not in quite the epic level that you did, but I did go to one of those dinner and movie theaters where you can order a beer or have food. It's called Roadhouse Cinemas here in Tucson, and it's where I go when I want to sit in a super comfortable reclining chair and, again, be able to order a beer while I watch a movie. And the nice thing is, too, usually it is a better movie-going experience because I don't end up with people on their cell phones, screaming children, various things like that. So let's talk Warcraft movie. So, other than the fact that you obviously had an epic experience, which may color the movie a little bit for you, when the movie itself, total thumbs up, total thumbs down, how did you feel about the movie itself?
I would say total thumbs up. I definitely enjoyed it. Like, it's not going to be one of my, top 10 favorite movies of all time, but it was really good. It was done really well. There were a few things that I saw, like they were editing issues, but I cannot determine if they were legitimate editing issues, because it would show, like, one scene these guys were right here, and then the next scene they were hiding behind something, and we're like, wait, I didn't see them move. But I don't know if that was just my mind wandering because I was just taking in the entire experience and kind of letting my mind wander a little bit. So
letting it wash over you.
Yeah, and I definitely want to see it again in the theater, and I will.
Yeah, me too. I will too. I've only gotten to see it once so far. It was a total thumbs up for me too. Honestly, like you said, it's not a top 10 most epic film of all time, but I didn't need it to be. I wanted to go and just totally nerd out about something a lore and a world that I have been jacked into and interested in for the last 20 years. I mean, I used to play Warcraft. I played Warcraft 1, 2, 3. I played Defense of the Ancients, the old Warcraft 3 mod, and then I was obviously super excited for World of Warcraft when it came out. I've been playing World of Warcraft since the day it came out. So I love the world. I love the lore. I read the books. I'm not, lore obsessed like some people. I'm not like, I know exactly what happened. I'm not like that guy at Blizzard every year who's like, well, according to the lore, the third war.
You guys, it was actually in 1994 when that happened, you guys.
Hey, man, you know what? That's his thing, and that's fine. I respect that.
Yes.
But I am not that person. What I do enjoy, I do enjoy the novels. I really enjoy the story, and I think that they chose a great story to start with. I think it presented things so well. The actress who portrayed Medivh, I disagree with people who have complained about him. I thought he was
Ben
awesome.
Foster? Oh my god, I thought he was the
Amazing.
best human actor in the film, next to Travis Fimmel, who played Anduin Lothar.
Yeah, like,
Ben Foster was phenomenal.
Oh, it was so good. And then, of course, we had, and then you had, Corona. She was awesome.
She was a good female character.
I was excited to see her in her position, and I did like that when she was in the scene with humans, how they kind of portrayed her as kind of like the way she moved was just different. And she was like talking about who would be a good mate, but just in how she postured herself, it really brought me into that world. And that's what I really liked. And oh my gosh, the portal, the portal scene in the beginning where they open up the portal and then it flips, and it just made it just so real in a way that, I mean, that portal is something we've all seen if we've played World of Warcraft. Like, the portal is there, it's in that space, and to see these places, and then to the shots that they did of the different places, oh my gosh, like, I got chills when I first saw Karazhan. Of course, then I've heard some people that are like, oh, Karazhan wasn't epic enough. I completely disagree. I thought it was amazing the way they portrayed Karazhan as this tall, imposing, beautiful book.
Did they
so
not?
Many books. I mean,
did they not see how many frickin' stairs?
Yeah, exactly.
And that was very reminiscent to the actual the raid Karazhan, because there were a lot of stairs in a library, and it was annoying to have to climb them.
You're like, all right, and stairs. No, I thought, you know what, Karazhan was one of my favorite raids, so that was just from that side. I'm like, yes, Karazhan. And then honestly, Khadgar, people were like, oh, he was kind of a weenie. I'm like, he was kind of a weenie, but a little bit, he's supposed to be. He's not right. Khadgar yet. He's not Archmage Khadgar yet, He's just this little, the weenie mage that has some skill, who's a little too curious, and I love the fact that when he first got into Karazhan and he was just obsessing over the books, he's like, oh my gosh, there's so many books. And somebody was like, what kind of a mage is he? He should have seen like lots of books before. I'm like, no, I don't think you understand how many books are there. So yeah, that's the one thing I have to say. People have been...
that's hilarious.
I've been hearing so much like a critique of the film. Like, everybody's sitting here and like, well, and they're just critiquing all these little aspects. And it's like, just stop, sit back and appreciate. This is Warcraft the movie.
Right.
When did we think we would actually get Warcraft the movie that wasn't in some kind of a straight-to-video approach, where it would actually be in theaters, where it would actually have actors that decently billed actors, that it would have, effects that are awesome. I mean, just when I saw King Lane's sword, I was like, oh, chills. Like,
wasn't that the most gorgeous sword
you've
ever seen in a fantasy movie?
It was beautiful.
And the knife that the queen gave to Garona, I was looking at that going, oh my god.
I know, and all I could think of was, like, I would love to watch, I can't wait to see people take that dagger, that little knife that you mentioned, the letter opener, as I jokingly called it when I first watched it, and make that into, make props of that, because that was a beautiful little knife. No, I thought that was really cool. The props were well done. I thought the costuming was fantastic. With the orcs,
Which
it was good.
and the humans, did you like the armor that the humans wore?
I did. I didn't like the outfit that they put Garona in.
Okay.
That was kind of annoying, like her little... But at the same time, they're kind of like, here, take this random chick that we need to give a piece of armor to or else we feel bad about it. But I did actually like their armor, and I did like the Queen's apparel, and I thought that I loved when we got to see that little bit of the Alliance, or what's going to be the Alliance coming together. And that we got some shots of some other NPCs and we got to have our little moments of like, woo, that's so-and-so. And I think that the movie did everything I wanted it to do for me. I thought it was well done. I thought that it was an enjoyable film. I was engaged in the story the whole time. I do want to go see it another time. So for me, I loved it.
Yeah, I did too. A lot of the complaints I've been seeing was that the armor for the humans just wasn't good enough. And I don't understand that. And I was trying to, as I was watching it, I had that in my head. I'm like, why did they not think that this was good enough? This is amazing.
Yes, I agree with you. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah, the only thing that's kind of awkward is the human models, especially the male human models in World of Warcraft, the game, the MMO, are bulky and big. They're just massive. So you've got massive guys with huge bulging biceps in mage robes. And they're using real human actors, they're not going to have huge bulging...
They're not going to have that same presence.
Yeah, and so obviously you're not going to get that because it's not one size fits all for the male model for every single person that rolls a male character or a human male character. But I thought the armor was fantastic.
I agree.
And it looked very Alliance, and it looked very WoW.
I loved the orcs, like the little details, like my
god, yes.
What are they called? The tusks and the pierced tusks and
the
way that they made them so big, because that's the thing, is that they are big, and that was like a big part of it, where they're these big hulking humanoid beings that the humans have to see, and when they're fighting them, they're just these big guys that do make the human males look small and insignificant, kind of.
Right.
But no, I loved it, and I loved the and the tenderness between Draka and Durotan. That was something I always loved about the lore, is I always felt that tenderness between the two of them, where they're both these respectable warriors, but then they still have this tenderness to one another, and that was something that's been represented in the stories before that I always loved. So I'm really glad that they captured that, because I think that is kind of the essence of what Thrall was born into, and that was always important to me. I mean, even though he didn't really grow up with his parents, there's still the essence of their relationship I don't know. I'm such a nerd, but I loved that, and I thought they did a great job with that.
Well, that's really awesome, because I'm not a huge lore buff. I know enough from being around it for pretty much as long as you have as well. Like, I played Warcraft 1, 2, and 3. But I didn't get too much into it. I haven't read any of the books, and I started WoW late, like a year after it was out, and then only played for 4 years. So I didn't know that much really about the backstory of anybody, except for just a few of the major characters like Gul'dan and Medivh.
Oh, of course, yeah, those are big stories. And Gul'dan, I thought they did a great job with representing him, where he's like this, he's like bent over and evil, but then when he's in the Muckrock, he's like, he flips back his robe and can stand up.
He's got all those, nasty horns sticking out of his back. He was positively primeval to steal a line from Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, no, he was wonderful.
He was so amazing looking.
I mean, granted, he's a jerk, but I mean, the representation is wonderful.
Yes, I know. I hated his character because he's an asshole.
Gul'dan is like the ultimate asshole. And I do love that I thought they represented that scene so well, where it was, hey, this is Durotan, like, this is the chance to show him being not orc. And the best way to do that is to just show him cheat in something that is just sacred to the warriors. Like, in the orcs, they're warriors. They're everything else, but they are warriors, and their warrior traditions are important to them. And I thought that was great. I thought it was just such a great story, presented so well. It was funny because when the battle was happening and King Lane is there and Garona has to kill King Lane, and you're like, no, I don't want you to, Garona. I don't want you to do it, but you need to do it, and I don't want you to. And then
And she didn't want to.
No,
either.
she didn't.
She's just like, wait, no. Oh, shit. If I do this, you're right. I will actually unite the orcs and the humans, and we can stop this war before it gets really started. Like, too bad,
Exactly. And the other thing, too, is that, like, so after that happened, the whole time I'm like, okay, his sword is there. How does his sword get out? I'm like, the sword has to get out. Varian Wrynn gets his father's sword. How is the sword getting out? So the whole time I'm like, the sword has to get out. And it's like a weird thing to focus on, but I'm like, the sword can't just stay in this battle, because the sword gets back to Stormwind so that Varian Wrynn has his father's sword. So I was really, like, I don't know why, but I was super focused on that. And so it was really cool when, why is his name escaping me right now?
Lothar?
Lothar, yep. I was like, when he comes in and you're like, that's how the sword gets out. Very good. And that was great with the Griffin being, like, 'cause that's the thing is sometimes when you play WoW, you forget, these cheesy little birds that you fly from one place to another, but
Right.
Griffins are these amazingly big and powerful, cool creatures, and I thought they did such a good job of representing that. And then I totally got to have all my little comic relief WoW nerd moments, like the polymorph on the guard when he turns the guard into a sheep. I mean, everybody in the theater died. It was hilarious.
That was one of the best things about seeing the movie with the Frog Pants group. Every time, like at the beginning of the movie, when we see Stormwind and we see the cities, everybody cheered, everybody's clapping, everybody's woo! And then every little thing, like at the beginning of the movie when there's a Murloc in the stream, everybody's like, yes! And then
there's a Murloc.
when the Griffin flies into Stormwind, into that little parapet, that's exactly where the I forgot what they're called, the starting at the end point is in WoW when you fly into Stormwind. So everybody was cheering and hollering at that too. The bauble, the fishing bauble that was in the river, everybody cheered.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody cheered at that. I was like, yay, fishing. And
there were just those moments. I'm so glad that they did that. I think that was absolutely paying service to the fans of these games, and I love that. And I know that may be missed on, like, I brought somebody with me who only played WoW to, like, level 45, like, played a human paladin, like, played a little bit of Warcraft 2, but not really a big Warcraft fan. And he thought it was okay. But I definitely got that there was things that weren't as deep to him, and that was fine. He enjoyed it, though. He thought it was good. He said it was a good fantasy story. And then, we talked a little bit about some of the lore behind it, and I kind of explained some of it, and he was like, oh, that makes more sense, too. But he still thought it was an enjoyable film,
cool.
Even though he didn't have that background. But there were definitely moments where I got to enjoy just those little moments that were obviously there for us, for the super fans.
Well, and speaking of the humor, I actually thought I think it's very easy to compare this movie to a movie like Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings, epic written trilogy, and the movies were epic as well. Those are some of my favorite movies. But that movie takes itself very seriously, and it should, and it did a great job. And I'm not trying to say that Warcraft didn't take itself seriously, but the humor in this fantasy movie is beyond any humor that I've ever experienced in the sense that it was very modern. Like when it was, and some of it was a little bit sudden and very, I don't know, it was just super enjoyable. Like when when Khadgar goes up to the mages, they're like, yeah, no, you can't be here. You can't be here. You're kicked out. And he's like, no, I have to be here. And then that big, what was it, that portal thing that they opened?
Yeah, and then Glenn Close is amazing.
Well, yeah, yeah, before we get to her, that was a surprise. But
yeah.
Khadgar opens, or a portal opens because of Khadgar's presence, and he's just like, and stares for him, and he's just like, so do I walk up the stairs? Do I enter? And the really creepy looking mage guy is like, oh, I don't know, it's never done that before, and it's just like, you're not quite expecting that kind of humor, but it was so funny.
Yeah, but it's kind of like how things happen and unfold in a WoW quest.
Exactly.
Like if you're doing a WoW quest and you're just like, oh, well, I guess we're going down the rabbit hole. We're going to see what happens. And I love that. It felt like kind of a WoW quest. And I love Dalaran. Dalaran is such an amazing city. So it was cool to get a little peek into the Kirin Tor. And when he landed, oh my god, he landed where the flight path lands at Dalaran if you're in the game.
Oh, nice.
So it was like, so when I saw that big circle where that's where the flight path lands in Dalaran. And I was like, oh, that's the flight path. And I was like, I'm a nerd.
That's awesome.
That's okay.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. Just the one for Stormwind. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, and it was just that, those little moments I think were absolutely put in there for those of us that are the super fans. I think it did try to explain, the movie sometimes tried to over-explain maybe a little bit for the casuals, and maybe they didn't need to go that far, but I don't think it was as bad as some people said, where they said, oh, they just over-explained everything because people don't know the story. And I was like, I didn't really feel that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I felt like they left enough things where it was like you could just kind of put it together on your own. But that's kind of how books are too. You know, that's the thing, is I don't necessarily need a movie to spell everything out to me. If I just want to enjoy the story, and I don't need it to be like, please give me every epic detail. Yeah.
Why did you do that right then? It's like, well, it'll probably be explained later in the movie, so keep watching, maybe?
Or it won't be explained, but it won't matter because you can come to your own conclusion.
Right.
You don't necessarily have to have everything. I don't know. I thought it was great. So one of the things that I thought was interesting too is that I have a meowing cat. I don't know why. But one of the things that I do think is worth bringing up is the fact that in other parts of the world, this has been billed as Warcraft: The Beginning. The big question is, does this imply that there's going to be a sequel?
Oh, yes.
Does that mean it's just the very beginning? Oh,
yes. They're going to do a sequel.
I think so too. I think it made enough money to more than covered the budget in the first weekend. Right. So I think that's obviously good news for us to get a sequel.
And thank you, China, for making that happen.
Yeah, and thank you, China, for watching this movie a whole lot so that we could have more.
More so than our silly American brethren.
Yeah. Now, here's the question, though, is that, so the history it covers is through Warcraft 1, right. So that makes sense to call it Warcraft: The Beginning. So I wonder why they build it as just Warcraft in the American market. Why change it for that? Why not just call it Warcraft: The Beginning in the American market?
Well, that's a good question. I wonder if psychologically, like, I don't know, I'm not a psychologist. I wonder if psychologically Americans tend to respond better to like short titles. Because I remember there.
Oh, that's a good point. One-word titles actually, that actually is a thing. One-word titles do often have a big impact. At least when it comes to novel titles. I've read articles before about how to title novels, and that is very common, so that's very possible.
And I do remember there for a while, for several years, it seemed like every single movie that came out was called The Something, The Happening, The Car, like whatever it was. Everything started with The
Room.
The Room.
The Hours. No, I can just think of so many now. The Something. And then when you use some apps, you have to figure out whether or not the movie is going to be in the T's or in whatever the second word is, because some apps organize them alphabetically by some organize them alphabetically by the second word in the title, which is technically correct, but also super annoying. Anyway, random side tangent. my life as a cable cutter. No,
That's
as a
okay.
cord cutter, excuse me.
I know, same here, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Oh, I know. Now that I've done it, I couldn't believe it. Was so exciting because this is the first month where I got just my internet bill, and I was like,
nice.
oh,
cool.
no more crazy expensive cable bill. And I haven't missed it at all.
Right?
Honestly, I found a way to get everything that I want.
Yep.
The only challenge I'm going to have, again, I'll mention it again, is RuPaul's Drag Race. I don't know how I'm going to get my logo show, but I'll figure it out. I might have to find a local bar that some bars do viewings of it on Monday nights when the show happens, so I might just have to go hang out at the gay bar to watch it, which is fine.
Right on. I love that.
I mean, hey, we'll figure it out. So, all in all, I have to give the episode absolutely the movie rather. Definitely a thumbs up for me. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought the portrayal of, I felt like Medivh was exactly, I really liked him. I really thought the portrayal was so good, and he had that right mix of, I'm drawn into this dark, evil force, but yet I still have my motivations and my
allegiances and my friendships.
Yeah, I loved that juxtaposition that he had in him and the way that was portrayed. Because that's the big thing about the Fel, is it says, the Fel corrupts. Yeah, the Fel corrupts because it is this evil, but it's like primordial, like you said, primordial evil. It's not like, it takes a great man or a great woman to withstand the draw of the Fel, because it's powerful, and I don't want to say charisma of it, but it has a...
Yeah, it's that really, it's like the dark center in all of humanity, where it's enticing and dangerous.
Yes.
And yeah.
So it was cool to watch somebody kind of, and you could really kind of feel compassion for how he is, because you get it. He's this absolutely a powerful mage, but at the same time, he's drawn to this Fel because it's even more powerful,
right, than
anything else that he has access to, and that is, like you said, it's enticing. So that was cool. I really enjoyed that. So after I watched the movie, I had to go back and have a little bit of a nerd moment, because I enjoyed the Lords of War shorts that were made for the Warlords of Draenor expansion. And it was, if you haven't seen them, I recommend going. They're all on YouTube. But Blizzard put out the information on how several of the Warlords of Draenor, their origin stories, basically. I don't know what else to call them. But they were really cool, and they were done by the way that they were done in like that kind of moving comic way with voiceover. And it was a story of Kargath and Durotan, and how they became who they were and everything. And so after watching the movie, I felt like, you know what, I got to go back and watch those. And what I didn't remember from the first time I watched these shorts, and they were done as promo for the Warlords of Draenor expansion, was that at the beginning of each of the episodes of the Lords of War, it was Marad talking to Varian Wrynn about the Horde, or about these orcs, and what these warlords and how they became these warlords, so he could better understand them to tactically approach them in battle. So in one of the beginnings, it's Varian saying, he's like, I remember I was a small boy when they stepped through the portal and like this war began and blah, 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 blah. And so it was like such a callback, because I was like, oh my god, we saw that in the film. And that's true, because in the film we see Varian Wrynn as a young boy.
And everybody cheered.
Yep, and everybody cheers, but that is Varian, and that is, that's when his father died, and that's when, he had to step up, and that his story is so great. And also I always recommend the book Wolfheart, which is about Varian Wrynn.
Ooh. Is
so good. Read it, it's good. But that being said, so it was really cool to go back for me and to watch, how Durotan became Durotan. Like, basically, how he became the chieftain that he was, and his story. So, one of those things that, I think I highly recommend is if you didn't play Warlords of Draenor, or even if you did, but you didn't see the promo videos that were done, they're called Lords of War. And Blizzard put them out. And again, they're really cool. And I love orcs, so I love it because I love the Horde, but I also love the Alliance, but I'm also torn. It's funny because I started Alliance, but I only started Alliance because my friends are playing Alliance, and I was like, well, if I'm going to stare at something's ass for 60 levels, I'm going to play a Night Elf.
Yep.
So I made a Night Elf Priest. It had really nothing to do with anything else, but then as I got more into the game, I have an absolute love for dwarves. Like, it's bad. I have an unhealthy appreciation for dwarves. Like, I just love them.
The boomstick.
The boomstick, exactly. And then I also love, oh god, I loved that. But then, and to see Ironforge too. That was at the Forge. That was great.
Yes.
But I love orcs. I play orcs a lot because I love their story, and I love that they're like, we're warriors, and that's so cool to me. Like, I have an orc hunter, and I've had an orc warlock, and I've had orc shamans. So I don't know, it's hard because, like, I love the Horde, I love the Alliance, and when it comes to the game, it's hard for me to choose sides permanently.
Sure. Yeah.
Which I guess makes me one of those people who are like, you're wrong if you're not Alliance, or you're wrong if you're not Horde. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm just, I go both ways. I
swing both ways. They're both great in their own ways, with their own
exactly
their own heroes and their own way of life.
Yeah.
That does remind me. I didn't look at this purposefully. Like, I didn't look for this purposefully, like trying to go in with a feminist mindset going, are they going to have women in this movie? But I noticed just throughout the movie at something that I thought was super cool. In the orc armies, there were prominent women featured about on the front lines, just like the population of World of Warcraft is in game. You have pretty much equal males and females doing exactly the same things. Like, everything is equal.
We also saw it in the Alliance, or in the human army too. There were female soldiers.
Yeah, and you know, like carrying crates and doing things, and I'm just like, that is so perfect. That you know, I'm just so happy they didn't take the stereotypical fantasy stories that we're used to, where it kind of from the medieval era, where the men are the ones that do the battling, they do the warring, the women stay home, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's one thing that Blizzard has always done. You know, Blizzard hasn't been perfect about it. And there's always been the complaint that, like, oh, there should be more prominent female characters. And I disagree, because I thought they've actually done a great job of presenting female characters. I mean, you have Jaina Proudmoore, you have Agra, you have
Valyra.
Yes, you have Vanis, you have Tyrande, you have, or Tyrande, or Tyrande, depending on if you're Heroes of the Storm game caller person. There's a word for that. I'm like, there's a word that I can't think of, but yeah, it's Tyrande. No, that's not how it's pronounced. But yeah, there's all these prominent female characters, and I love that. I love that they don't shy away from that, and I did really appreciate that the orc army had women, because that's a big deal. Like, the female orcs are like, yep, hey, orcs are like warriors as warriors, man. Like, Put your butt out there. I mean, that's just how they are. And then in the human army, that was great too, to see the women out there just with the men, just like it would have been. Like you said, in World of Warcraft, that's how it is. You've got men and women. There's none of those gender biases like we have in our cult. You know, in this fantasy world, there are men and women that both do the warring, as you put it.
Do the warring.
Yeah, no, I loved it. And I thought, so the woman that played, I can't remember the actress's name, but she played the queen, and I love her. I've
got it right here. Where'd she go?
I love her. So she was in,
Rena? She was in S.H.I.E.L.D.
recently. She was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She did a great job. I'm excited. Ruth Negga. Okay. I love that actress. I'm really, so in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., she was fantastic. And I really enjoyed her a lot there. And then I haven't seen the premiere yet, but I'm really excited about AMC's Preacher, the adaptation of the comic Preacher into a show.
Yeah.
And I'm even more excited about it because when I saw a trailer for it, I noticed that she is in AMC's Preacher, so I'm really excited about that too. She's a great actress, and I enjoyed seeing her there. I've been kind of following her lately because she keeps popping up in things that I in things that I'm watching. And she was in something else too, and I can't think of what it was. But yeah, she keeps popping up, and I love her. I think she's a great actress.
I do too. One of the other actors, one of the side characters that I geeked out on was the assistant to Medivh.
Yes.
Because I was a big Battlestar Galactica fan remake, and he the actor that played him is Callum Keith Rennie.
Yeah.
But yeah, but he played Leoben, one of the Cylons that was obsessed with Kara Thrace, and I'm just like, oh my god, it's Leoben, yay!
I had the same moment too. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Battlestar Galactica as well. So I definitely enjoyed that too. You know, like I said, I was really happy. I'm excited to go see the movie again. I think it was everything I wanted it to be. It was an epic, story told that involved characters that I've loved for years. It involved me seeing things come to life that I never thought I'd be able to see in a movie. I never thought I'd be able to see a live action, guy jumping on a griffin. Like, I don't know, like just things like that are great. Yeah, barefoot guy jumping on a griffin.
And actually, speaking of that, they did a really good job with continuity, I think, for the most part. Like I had said earlier, I think there were a couple editing issues that I may have created in my own head, but continuity, he lost his shoes. And then he kept battling, he kept fighting, and still didn't have his shoes on. So I'm really glad, they were paying attention to the little things like that.
Yeah, no, I all in all, like I said, I'm happy. I thought it was great. I know it's awesome you got to see it in such an epic way. My experience, not quite so epic, but still good.
And I remember Ember wanted to say that when she saw it in the movie theater, that she yelled out "ding" when Khadgar leveled up.
Aww. That's fantastic.
Right? I thought that's so epic. I'm like, oh my god, why didn't anybody in our theater think of that? That's awesome.
I just like when he was just like, oh, I've got all these papers and all this stuff, and Medivh's like, nope, not anymore. It's like, what happened to your homework? Oh, Mage ate my homework. All of it. Literally all of it. Except for this one that I hid in my robes. Yes. No, I love that they did the portals too. Like, I thought that was really cool. And when he was spinning and like there's like arcane magic coming out of his hands and it looks just like it did in the game, and I was like, yes.
Right? It's like, this isn't Gandalf magic. This is real magic.
Yeah, this is like some serious arcane shit.
So should we?
I think that might be the title of this episode. No,
arcane shit.
Serious arcane shit. Go ahead.
Serious arcane shit. So with the movie, what was it about the movie that we didn't like?
I felt like the dialogue could have used just a little bit of polishing. There were just a couple moments where I just felt like it could have been written slightly different, but I'm also a little bit dialogue obsessed. I'm a Quentin Tarantino fan, so obviously I have a very high bar. That was probably the only thing for me. Everything else, I really didn't have an issue with. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I didn't have any moments where I was like, that sucked, or I didn't like that, or whatever.
Like, that was stupid. Why'd they do that?
No, I didn't have any of that. I just felt like there were a couple moments where I was like, that dialogue could have been written differently.
I wonder if maybe that is part of the reason. One of the things that I felt just kind of a little awkward about while watching the movie is I felt that the secondary characters, some of them, not all of them, like the main characters, the people that played Lothar, Medivh, Gul'dan, the voices that did the orcs, I thought they did a phenomenal job. But some of the secondary characters, it almost felt like they weren't quite sure if they were supposed to be taking their role seriously or not. And I'm wondering if maybe that was actually stemmed from like poor written dialogue.
Yeah, I could see that, because I think it was with those secondary characters that I noticed the dialogue that I wish was a little bit more. Just maybe you're right. Maybe it was more about the delivery than it was about the actual dialogue itself. I could see that, because it was definitely with the secondary characters. I didn't really have a challenge with the main characters, like when he said, like, nope, she made her choice. And it was like, no, she didn't make her choice. She did it because she had to do it. And Lothar, no, right. Don't not love her.
Yes, and so it kind of ends, well, it doesn't, I guess it doesn't end in a Shakespearean tragedy, but it has one of those Shakespearean twists where
I love that though.
The letter deliverer doesn't quite make it to Romeo in time before Juliet can tell him that she's not actually dead. It's kind of the same thing where, well, she didn't really have to choose, but she knew she had to. She absolutely had to.
And Lothar, King Lane, told her to. It wasn't even her idea.
But nobody except for those two knew that happened, and one of them is now dead. And so Lothar now thinks that she actually is a traitor, even though she wasn't. And
exactly. And I do. It gives it all the feels. So many feels. I have so many feels about so many things. So was there anything that what would you say, was there anything that you didn't like? I know you said there was a couple things that might be editing things that you'll take a look at again on a second viewing. Was there anything else that you didn't like?
And they weren't huge things either. And mostly what I noticed was in Karazhan, in the tower, when they were trying to distract Medivh or kind of trying to stop him, he had shot something he threw something at them, shot something at them, magic or something, and then all of a sudden they were hiding behind a pillar, but one of them had been tackled by something, and it was before the golem awoke, and so it was just wait, now they're both behind. I thought one of them was being attacked by Medivh, so I may have just missed something.
Oh yeah, the golem, I almost forgot about that. I love how when we first see Medivh, he's sculpting a golem. You're just he is so crazy. You crazy mage.
That was a Chekhov's gun, wasn't it? Because we see it at the beginning of the movie, so we learn later that it's going to be used somehow, and it does come to life eventually.
Yeah, no, gosh, I loved that. I loved that. I was really happy. Okay. So I think we can sum up that we both love the movie. We are total Warcraft nerds and love it, love it, love it. I'm sure I'll probably get some flack from this because there have been some strong opinions. I've watched a few reviews. There have been various opinions. I mean, there are people that loved it. There are people that, have had strong opinions about how, it could have been more epic or whatever. But for me, it's a thumbs up. I'm happy. I hope we get another one. And I really do hope we get another one. That's my only thing. I want another one.
I think we will. Did you listen to TMS yesterday?
Nope, I'm behind. I'm 4 days behind on TMS.
Okay, they talked to somebody who works at Blizzard, and he's pretty sure there's going to be a hint. Movie.
They gave the hints. Good. I'm glad to hear that. Okay, well, I think that pretty much wraps up the epic Warcraft movie discussion. I'm so glad we got to do this. I'm sad that we didn't get to have Ember with us for it. So I guess one of the big things to mention, what are you looking forward to in your geeky world?
So meeting all of these people in the Frog Pants community for the first time, because I'm new to the Frog Pants community. I didn't find out about TMS or Frog Pants until 2015, the podcast awards for 2015, and that was something that I got to discuss with Scott and Brian after the movie. And the first episode I ever listened to was the solo show that Scott was talking because Brian was out of town because of the podcast awards. And so it was the solo show, and I just enjoyed what he had to say. And I think the next show after that, Brian came back, and then I got into it from there. And both of them were just kind of looking at me out of all of, because they have over 1,000 episodes, and they said out of all of the episodes that we ever do, we've talked about this before. It's not even possible that somebody could come in on one of those off episodes that aren't a regular episode, except you did. They're talking to me except you did, and you actually stuck around, and we had a good laugh at that. And so my point of saying that was, what did you just ask me? Sorry.
What are you looking forward to?
Oh, looking forward to. So meeting everybody, getting to meet Scott and Brian, their wives, Tom Merritt, and making brand new friends. I made friends with Les. I made friends with Abby and a guy named Sam who had flown in from Chicago. I ended up, they invited me because we went out for sushi afterwards. I got to sit right next to Scott Johnson and Tina. It was so amazing. And then we just kind of had our own little adventure for the rest of the night. Ended up going to later in the night. Ended up going to a restaurant with Tom, Scott, and Brian, and everybody. And so and ended up crashing in Les's and Abby's hotel room because they invited me to. Because they did that, I was able to stay longer and meet everybody and hang out. And they actually let me hang out with them. And I'm sure I made
new friends.
I'm sure I made a complete and utter fool of myself the entire time.
Hooray!
But they didn't mind enough to like kick me out of the group and be like, go away. So I just feel really inspired by having had the experience. And I think I'm going to start actually drawing more because I haven't been. And I think I want to start my own webcomic. Like, I'm not trying to copy Scott in any way. I just have this weird idea that's kind of silly, but it'll get me drawing again. And I think I'm gonna start on that kind of a project. I think.
Cool. That's
so
awesome.
I just feel inspired to actually do something.
Cool. No, so you've got some creative juices flowing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing that I am the most excited about is going to go see this movie again, number one. But number two, and I know it's something we'll definitely talk about more on the next episode because we'll have had a chance to play some more, but Heroes of the Storm launched the new season. So I am really excited to see where ranked mode goes from, where Heroes League ranked mode goes from here. So that is my focus. I'm playing new heroes I've never played before. I'm kind of letting myself get better with other heroes so that I can kind of have just a wider base of heroes I can play. So there'll be lots of that for me. And like I said, by the time we record our next episode, I will have had time to play some more ranked, and I'll have some more input and feedback on the new Heroes of the Storm season. But that's definitely what I'll be doing quite a bit of this week, is playing some Heroes of the Storm.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm super excited to find out where they're going to place me. Am I going to be in bronze?
Me too. I'm like, where am I going to be? Where am I going to get placed? And will the people I play with know? So I've got a buddy. He's become my Heroes League partner. So we've been playing Heroes League together because you can duo queue. And so I'm excited to see where each of us get placed, and also see if we can get some progress. We had a rough string where we were just losing every game, but it wasn't our fault. We just had teams that were not good, and we're like, and of course he would get frustrated because he would say, okay, you have 14 heroes at level 5. That means you've played at least 90 games. How do you not know how to play this game yet? And I could understand his frustration. So I get that. So hopefully we'll get placed with people that, and we'll get matched with people on our teams that do know how to play, because it is really frustrating when you're on a map where the objective is the most important and they're not, or we're on a map and they should be soaking lanes, but instead they're fighting over vision. Ugh, anyway. So yes, more about Heroes of the Storm next time. So where can people find you on the interwebs?
The best place to find me is on Twitter at Chris Van Pelt, and that's KrisVanPelt.
And though she's not here, you can always find Ember on Twitter at 9of12. Also, I am the Jen. You can find me at The Jen Says on Twitter and streaming at twitch.tv/TheJenPlays. Don't forget to search for us on the Facebook, because I'm an old lady, under Geek Grills. We also can be reached using geekgrills@gmail.com, or you can tweet us at @geekgrills. We do also have a phone number, so give us a ring, 508-474-5577. That is 508-GRILLS7. And you can leave your feedback, suggestions for future episodes, etc. We do appreciate your support at our Patreon as well. That is patreon.com/grills. Don't forget, the next few patrons who sign up to 5 patrons do get a free game code. So we are looking for you to, if you enjoy us and you think we're awesome, and you want to hear more, support us so we can get Lunescence a better microphone. I mean, what? That would be cool. Well, thanks for listening, everyone, and good game.
Good game.
GG.
GG.
In the age of chaos, 2 factions battled for dominance. The kingdom of Azeroth was a prosperous one. The humans who dwelled there turned the land into a paradise. The Knights of Stormwind and the clerics of Norshire Abbey roamed far and wide, serving the king's people with honor and justice. The well-trained armies of the king maintained a lasting peace for many generations. Then came the Orcish hordes. No one knew where these creatures came from, and none were prepared for the terror that they spawned. Their warriors wielded axe and spear with deadly proficiency, while others rode wolves as black as the moonless night. Unimagined were the destructive powers of their evil magics, derived from the fires of the underworld. With an ingenious arsenal of weaponry and powerful magic, these two forces collide in a contest of cunning, intellect, and brute strength, with the victor claiming dominance over the whole of Azeroth. Welcome to the world of Warcraft.
Huge bulging fingers and toes, and Callum, he played...
Hold on.
He's excited too.
I have no idea what he's barking at. He's just like...
He shares my fandom.
He does share your fandom. Apparently, he also would like to note that he's excited about the Battlestar Galactica remake.